phone kept buzzing in short, sharp bursts, as if trying to remind me that I still owed someone a response. The screen lit up over and over. Mom, then Dad, then Ben, repeating like a loop with no way out. I sat motionless on the frayed edge of my old sofa, eyes barely glancing at the familiar names racing across the silence. I had no intention of picking up. Not because I was angry, just because I no longer saw the point in reacting. It had been 6 months. 6 months since I walked out of the house I grew up in, carrying nothing but a worn canvas bag filled with a few outfits, my laptop, and a copy of the lease for a small apartment on the edge of the city. No shouting, no tears. My mother just stood in the living room, pointed at the door, eyes locked on mine. "You're ungrateful, get out, and don't ever come back." And I did exactly as she said. I finally believed she actually meant it. I didn't bring much. Just relief. They thought I'd return, like I always had before, quietly cleaning up the mess, wiring over another amount to help get through the month, then slipping back into the familiar role. The agreeable daughter who never complained. But this time, I didn't come back. And that terrified them. Not because they missed me, but because they needed me. I leaned back into the cushions, watching the phone vibrate like it was trying to escape some invisible grip. Not one of them called to ask how I was doing. Not a single apology. Just the usual red flag signals, like always, whenever they needed something from me. The hollow feeling I used to get after every argument was gone. What replaced it was calm, almost brutal in its clarity. It wasn't bitterness. I was simply exhausted, utterly emptied out. You are listening or reading this, you might wonder, why would a 30-year-old woman with a stable job in Austin walk away from her own parents like that? The answer isn't in some dramatic event. It's just accumulation. One day I woke up and realized if I kept going like this, there wouldn't be anything left of me. My name is Jade Foster. And until the day I walked out of that house one early spring afternoon, I still believed that if I worked just a little harder, tried just a little longer, they'd finally see me as a real person, not just a walking wallet. But I was wrong. Now, in this tiny one-bedroom apartment that's all mine, I sat and watched the 12th missed call flash across my screen. I let it ring one last time, then fade into silence. No words needed. No confirmation necessary. I used to think, if I was smart enough, disciplined enough, patient enough, then their love would be fair. I grew up in South Austin's outskirts, in a low-roofed house that always smelled like damp wood and bleach. My mother, Lorraine, was a retired accountant with back problems. My father, Walter, worked for a construction supply company until he quit, claiming the market turned hostile. Since then, he mostly stayed home, read newspapers, and sipped watered-down coffee each morning. And Ben, my older brother, rarely left the couch. He's 3 years older than me. He briefly attended community college but dropped out because the professors weren't inspiring. After that, it was a string of short gigs. Pizza delivery, HVAC repairs, even a short-lived stint in insurance. None lasted more than 3 months. Why? Not the right environment, he'd say. And Mom always had a ready excuse. Ben has an artist's soul. He just needs time to figure things out. 10 years passed, and time was something he always had in excess. Me? I had to be faster, neater, better. I was the kid who stayed up late studying after everyone else had gone to bed. The one who started working at a coffee shop at 16 to save up for a used car, because I knew no one else would help with transportation. The one who filled out scholarship forms, applied for grants, worked campus jobs, and never missed a single class, even after working past 1 a.m. And all those accomplishments, in my parents' eyes, were nice, but never enough. When I landed an internship at a finance firm, my dad barely glanced up from the paper. Well, let's hope you keep the job. But when Ben posted a blurry photo from the gym with a caption about a fresh start, Mom printed it out and taped it to the fridge like a diploma. I remember the time he dropped the laptop I'd bought after saving for 3 months. Mom didn't ask what happened. She just looked at me and said, "Don't be mad at him. Ben didn't mean to." I stood there, biting my lip until it bled. No one asked if I was okay. Another time, I knocked over a lunch container while cleaning. Dad looked at me like I'd ruined his whole afternoon. "You need to be more careful. You're supposed to set an example for Ben." Set an example? That was the phrase I heard most growing up. They pulled it out every time I pushed back, every time I was tired, every time I asked, why do I have to carry all of this? I used to think setting an example was a kind of honor. Later, I realized it was just the mask they gave me so I'd quietly carry the weight of everything they didn't want to face. I was the one who knew when to open my wallet, the one who never talked back, who stayed in school while others gave up, who carried the weight without ever complaining. But the more I handled, the more they expected. Not appreciated, expected. When Ben missed another job application deadline, he's just stressed. When I asked to take a weekend off because I was overwhelmed, Jade, don't be so selfish. Every mistake he made had a soft place to land. Every boundary I tried to draw was seen as an attitude problem. I used to tell myself maybe I was too strong. That's why they thought I didn't need anything. But eventually I realized they didn't see me as a daughter. They saw me as a fallback plan, one to blame when things went wrong, someone to lean on when things fell apart, a name that came first when the budget ran short and vanished when credit was handed out. And what exhausted me the most wasn't the favoritism. It was the way they pretended it didn't exist. They asked me to forgive every injustice quietly and called it family duty. They expected me to shoulder everything without protest and called it voluntary sacrifice. At first, everything started with small requests. One Wednesday evening, while I was scarfing down instant noodles at my desk, my mom called. Her voice was tired but steady, like she'd rehearsed it. "Jade, I know you're busy, but the electricity bill's a bit high this month. Could you front it just this once?" I didn't hesitate. Back then, I still believed in family helping family. I transferred $140 to her account right away, adding a message. "It's okay, Mom." A week later, it was the gas bill, then groceries, then a leaking pipe. Then Ben spilled water on the outlet and shorted it. I can't recall the last time they fully paid a bill. All I remember is that from that moment on, every time I saw my mom's name on my screen, my chest tightened automatically. There were no more calls asking if I was doing okay. No one checked if I'd had dinner or if I was drowning in deadlines, just a steady stream of messages. "Honey, we're a bit short this week. If possible, could you send it early? Just borrowing. We'll pay it back soon." But soon never came. I started keeping track, first in my head, then in a simple Excel file. At first, it was a few hundred. Then, a few thousand. I didn't tell anyone. My friends wouldn't get it. They thought I was the independent one. The woman who had her finances in check, who knew how to say no when needed. But I never learned how to say no to my own family. Once, I hesitated when my mom messaged, "The hot water system's acting up." I stayed silent for half a day because I truly didn't have anything left. That evening, she called again. No pressure, just a quiet sigh. "You know your dad's back hurts. This season without hot water is really hard on him. But it's okay. I'll find another way." I couldn't bear to stay silent. I wired $500 from the savings I'd set aside for a health insurance plan. That just this once became, "I guess you've got this now." And Ben, still living at home, still jobless, still lounging around like nothing was ever his burden. I once tried to suggest something gently after Mom asked me to take Ben to the doctor because he's been under prolonged stress. I said, "Maybe Ben could apply for the part-time job at that convenience store nearby. I've seen the hiring sign up for weeks." Mom paused for a few seconds, then answered, her tone a little cold. Don't push him. He's not ready. Everyone has their own pace. The next time I brought up money, she went completely silent for 3 days. Then came a short message. Don't worry about it. I'll just ask the bank. The guilt pressed on my chest like a damp stone. To transfer more money. I paid their electricity, water, home maintenance, groceries. When the main water pipe broke after a storm, I shelled out $2,800 to replace it. When they got behind on the mortgage, I covered the remaining balance so the bank wouldn't post a red notice on the door. And just like that, I went from the successful daughter to the household's default wallet. I don't even remember whether I started eating instant noodles out of habit or because I was broke. I no longer dared to dream about a spring getaway with my best friend. Every time I tried to plan, another emergency from that house popped up. And Ben? Still using the laptop I'd bought to play games for hours. Still ordering delivery with the card I accidentally saved on Mom's Netflix account. And none of them saw anything wrong with that. All they saw was Jade's doing fine. She works in finance, makes good money. It's no big deal. She helps because she loves her family. Except I can't remember the last time I was treated like their daughter. And not just a backup plan for everything they couldn't handle. I kept going, almost on autopilot, thinking I was being strong. Until one day, Ben asked directly, "Why have you been sending money lately? I need to pay for a few things." I looked up from my desk. Ben didn't even look at me. So glued to his phone, drumming his fingers like he was waiting on a food delivery. In that moment, I realized I wasn't part of this family anymore. I was just a utility. And if I disappeared, they'd probably just text to ask for the bank password. That week, I worked 72 hours. From early Monday morning to late Saturday night, I jumped between presentations, data analysis meetings, and quarterly financial reports for clients. Lunch meant a sandwich at my desk, and evenings were a rushed shower, followed by more work on my laptop until midnight. I was so exhausted I couldn't remember the last time I cooked a proper meal. But on Sunday morning, just 2 hours into a nap, my phone rang like a fire alarm. "We're almost out of almond milk and toilet paper," Mom texted. "If you stop by, could you grab some?" "Thanks." "No, how are you?" I got up, threw on an old hoodie, grabbed 2 bags of groceries from Whole Foods, and drove through a light drizzle across the city. Every time I returned to that old house, I still knocked before entering, but that time no one answered. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open and stepped in, instantly sensing something off in the living room. Mom was sitting in the middle of the couch, arms crossed, her face tense. Dad stood behind her, eyes avoiding mine. Ben lounged on the sofa, half-eaten pizza box on his lap, legs on the coffee table, eyes glued to his phone. As I placed the bags on the kitchen counter, Mom spoke. "We need to talk." I sat down and took off my mask. "What's going on?" Dad glanced at Mom, who cleared her throat and spoke slowly, like delivering a fact. "Your father, Ben, and I have talked, and we think you should contribute more." I blinked. "I'm paying the mortgage, utilities, groceries. What more do you need?" Ben looked up and shrugged. "You earn the most. Isn't it fair that you carry the most?" I turned to Mom. She didn't disagree. "You're single, with a stable income. The family is struggling. We can't keep relying on a few hundred each month. It needs to be clearer." Something cracked in my chest, something that had been strained for too long. I spoke slowly, clearly. "I've been covering the entire mortgage for 2 years. Without me, the bank would have taken this house last year." No one responded. I continued. "Ben doesn't work, doesn't pay a cent. Every month he adds to the bills, electricity, food. He even orders delivery using my card." Mom cut in sharper than usual. "Don't blame your brother. He's still finding his path. You're always calculating, keeping records. Family is about sharing, not measuring every dollar." I gave a dry chuckle, though my throat felt raw. "Sharing? Then why am I the only one responsible?" Ben leaned back, speaking lazily. "You're in finance. You're good at it, so you handle it." I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm. Mom looked at me with a chilling stare. "If you feel burdened, then stop. No one's forcing you. But don't act like a victim. This is your home. I looked at her. That expression, it wasn't motherly, it was entitled, void of gratitude. My home? I've paid every month, but my name has never appeared on any deed. Mom stood up, face pale with anger. If this is too much for you, then don't come back. Don't bring that attitude here. If you want to leave, go. And don't ever come back. No one in the room objected. No one looked surprised. I looked at Dad. He remained frozen, eyes vacant, as if everything was proceeding as planned. Silently, I walked to the counter, picked up the almond milk and toilet paper, and placed them on the shelf. I said nothing more. It's been nearly 6 months since I left that house. No one has called. No apologies, no messages. No one asked how I was doing. At first, I still checked my phone every night, just to make sure I hadn't missed a call, even though deep down, I knew no kind call would come. Over time, I stopped waiting. The silence on my screen became a comforting part of my new life. I started learning to live like a regular person, sleeping at normal hours, cooking on weekends, spending time with friends who didn't need money to maintain a relationship. I saved for the first time in years. My paycheck no longer vanished into someone else's bills. I even bought myself a really comfy chair without having to notify anyone. Then, on a Friday morning as I was sipping coffee on the balcony, a text from Dad appeared. "Jade, haven't seen the mortgage payment this month. The bank called." I set my cup down. No greeting, no asking if I was okay, just a reminder that an old obligation had been overlooked. I gave a dry smile, but my mind felt icy. 6 months of silence, and he still assumed I was managing everything behind the scenes. I opened my banking app, then decided to call the mortgage service center for the old suburban house directly. A polite representative picked up the call. I clearly stated my name, my parents' home address, and that I had previously helped them pay off the mortgage but was no longer responsible. I just wanted to check the account status. There was a brief silence, then the sound of typing came through the line. "Yes, that account is currently 7 months and 22 days past due. It's in serious delinquency. A foreclosure will be initiated in about 3 weeks if no payment is made." I didn't respond for a few seconds. "Sorry, did you just say it's nearly 8 months overdue?" "Yes, ma'am. The last full payment was recorded at the end of February. After that, there were a few small deposits, but none met the minimum required." I froze. February? That meant back when I was still sending money regularly. When I still believed I was helping a family that had fallen on hard times. Not being deceived. They hadn't used that money to pay the debt. I hung up and sat still. A bitter, hollow ache spread to the tips of my fingers. I had worked myself to exhaustion, drained my emergency fund, even canceled my health insurance just to help them keep that house. And they carelessly let it fall apart. So where had my money gone? I dialed. Ben picked up on the first ring. "You called, what's up?" "Do you know about the mortgage situation?" "What?" "The bank is preparing to foreclose. I just called and checked." Ben exhaled through his nose. "Well, Mom's handling that. Why do you even care anymore?" I replied, voice tight. "I've sent thousands of dollars to keep that house in their name. Aren't you even curious why it's being taken back?" Ben paused for a second, then snapped like I'd insulted him. "Didn't you say you didn't want to be involved anymore? Why are you asking now?" "Because I won't be used to cover up a hole." I hung up. A while later, Mom called, and I, still holding on to a shred of fragile hope, answered. "Why did you call the bank? How could you just do that without asking?" I took a breath. I wanted to know where the money I sent went, because clearly it didn't go to the bank. Her voice sharpened. "There are so many things we had to pay for. Ben's been stressed, your father needed medical appointments. It's all too much, Jade, you can't understand it all." I nearly laughed. "I do understand. I understand that you used the money for something other than saving the house. and now that you've been caught, you're turning it back on me for being heartless." She went silent, then softer. "Jade, please, don't do this. We just need your help one last time. We're really going to lose the house." I didn't answer right away. All I could think of was the times I ate ramen instead of dinner, the nights I worked until 11 p.m., the trips I canceled because Mom needed gas money, Dad broke a pipe, and all that, just to be treated like a backup credit card. "I'm not your rescue plan anymore," I said, not coldly, but clearly. The line went dead, then rang again. A different call. Another voicemail. This time from Dad. "Jade, just this once. Help us out one last time. After that, I promise we'll manage on our own." I set the phone down and sat still. I knew if I sent the money, the cycle would repeat. But if I refused, the house would truly be gone. But maybe the thing that should disappear wasn't the house. That night, I sat on the floor, back against the wall, my phone face down next to my still-lit laptop. The silence in the room was so thick I could hear my own heartbeat. Fast, steady, cold. Dad's message was still unanswered. I typed out replies, then deleted them. Typed again, deleted. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew, very clearly, that whatever I wrote would be seen as permission, a sign that I might step back into that old role. I opened a video call. I needed to see every face again, even if just once. Dad picked up, a bit startled. Next to him was Mom, wrapped in a shawl, looking like she'd just come back from church. Ben, unsurprisingly, was on the couch, scrolling his phone. "I'm calling," I began. "We need to talk, once and for all." No one interrupted. "I've sent money for that house for 2 years. Hundreds, sometimes thousands, every month. But the bank said the last full payment was in February. So where did that money go?" Dad glanced at Mom. She exhaled and spoke flatly. "We've had hardships, a lot of unexpected bills. You have to understand." I kept my tone steady. "Hardships? When Ben's still ordering delivery every day? When there's money to buy a new couch? When you posted Easter photos in a designer dress?" Ben looked up. "What's this about? I never asked you for anything." "No, you didn't ask. But you also didn't stop anyone. You sat there letting someone else carry the weight. And didn't even bother to know who was paying the price." Dad cut in, voice lower. "We know we were wrong. We're sorry, Jade. It just got out of hand." A woman held his hand, nodding repeatedly. "Don't be upset anymore. We're family. When things fall apart, we should find a way to fix them." I cut her off, not out of anger, but because I didn't want them to stretch out something we all already knew. No one in this family apologized when I sent the money. No one said sorry when I was kicked out of the very house I quietly helped pay off. And now, when everything is collapsing, everyone comes running back. She bit her lip. "We just need your help this one time. After that, we'll figure it out." I looked straight into the camera. It's never just one time. Each time becomes another. And I keep losing, bit by bit, my savings, my sleep, my chance to live like a free adult. Ben scoffed. "You're being so dramatic." I didn't reply to him. I looked at my parents, at their eyes starting to crack. If I keep helping, then every apology you say today is just practice for the next time. But if I stop, at least someone will have to face the consequences of the choices they kept dodging. Dad's shoulders trembled. Mom's voice turned hoarse. "Jade, we're family. Are you really going to abandon us?" I stayed quiet for a few seconds, then spoke softly. "Family should protect each other, not drain the strongest until they're empty." I ended the call. No yelling, no tears. Just a door that needed to close at the right time. I got up, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned against the window frame. watching the city slowly light up for the night. My chest stopped tightening whenever a message came in. They might lose the house, they might blame me, they might tell this story to anyone in a way that paints me as heartless. But I no longer needed to clear my name. I needed to live. So I blocked them all. My mom's accounts, my dad's, even Ben's number. I deleted them from my contacts, turned off all message notifications. After almost a decade, I finally understood what silence truly meant. No one called about a leaky faucet. No one asked, "Can you cover the power bill this month?" No more midnight calls just to get the Netflix password. Mornings suddenly felt longer. I could make coffee slowly, listen to a full podcast episode without pausing it halfway for some urgent thing from home. On the weekend, I booked a solo trekking tour in Colorado. Just me. No need to plan for anyone else, no need to ask permission. I bought a new sofa. Ash gray, rounded edges, the kind I once added to my cart and then removed because we needed to fix the windows. I hung art on the wall, changed my bedding, planted 2 pots of mint. Not to prove I'd moved on, but just to fill the space with something kind. But I won't pretend it was easy. Some nights, I still wake up at 2 a.m., heart racing. Not from bad dreams, but because my brain hasn't adjusted to the quiet. I lived for too long on edge, waiting for a phone call, an email, asking for a wire transfer, a guilt trip laced as a question. This new peace feels unfamiliar, at times even guilty. I walked past a family in the park, a dad in a red beanie, a toddler holding a warm cup of cocoa, and I wondered, somewhere, does my family still talk about me? Did my mom reshape the story, in a wistful tone, calling me the successful daughter who just turned too cold? Did my dad say something at church, like I'd turned my back on them? Did Ben still mention my name when he needed someone to blame? I'll never know, and maybe I no longer need to. No one teaches you how to let go of a family. There's no course on how to stop being the good daughter. I learned on my own. Through every teeth-gritting transfer, every restless night fearing I wouldn't make the payment in time. Now, I'm learning how to sleep without an alarm, to say no without explaining, to choose myself first, and not feel guilty. I didn't walk away out of anger. I walked away because I was too tired to keep hoping for something that never existed. I once believed family was unchangeable, that kinship was a chain, not a knot you could undo. But now I understand. If love only exists when I'm useful, then it's not love. It's exploitation. Maybe one day, I'll hear they sold the house. Maybe I'll see Ben post photos of moving into a new apartment with someone else. Someone new wearing the same life jacket I once wore. Or maybe a message from a stranger will appear. Your mom asked me to send you the new address. And if that day comes, I won't reply. Not because I hold a grudge, but because I closed this chapter in silence, and I want to preserve that quiet as a gift to myself. This new life didn't arrive with fireworks or a bouquet. It came, softly, through reading late into the night without someone telling me to turn off the light, through Sundays spent in bed past 7 a.m. without running out to get someone else's milk. Freedom, it turns out, isn't loud at all. Jade's story is a powerful reminder that love should never be mistaken for unconditional sacrifice. In real life, many people are crushed under disguised family obligations, where affection is weaponized into a debt that never ends. Walking away isn't betrayal, it's a brave act of reclaiming peace and personal worth. Everyone deserves a life that doesn't cost them their self-respect. What do you think about Jade's choice? Was she too harsh, or was this the only way to honor her own values? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to follow our channel for more heartfelt family stories.